Cool, okay. So yeah, hi, I'm Francesc. I'm a developer advocate for Google Cloud Platform, and I've been working with the Go team for, I don't know, quite a while. I want to say 4 years, but it might be more. And today I'm going to be talking about the state of Go. So I'm going to be talking about what we've been working on since the last time I gave this talk, which was 3 months ago. So it might seem like it's not that much, but actually there's a lot of things coming. So Go 1.7 is 9 months old. Go 1.7, it seems like it was a long time ago, but no, not really. Go 1.8, only 3 months. And on May 1st, we entered the release freeze, which means that we do not accept more features for Go 1.9, which means that this is actually a very good moment to go over all the things that we will have on Go 1.9. There's new things. There's more code that might come into the release, but there will be only bug fixes. So, and Go 1.9 will release sometime in August, hopefully early in August. If you try to run any of these things on the playground, it will not work because it's this from the future. That's the whole point. If you want to run a Go 1.8, it will not work either. You will need to install tip. So you need to compile from source and run it like that. If you do that, then it should work, unless I have bugs, which is, something happens. So, so we're going to be talking is changes to the language. I'm going to be talking about two changes to the language. Then all the changes to the standard library. Actually, not all of them, because there's too many. Changes to the runtime, then tooling, and finally we'll talk a little bit about community. So, how many changes to the language we have? We have technically 2, but only 1 was accepted. The first one is something to solve a big problem that we've had in many projects. This is something that we've seen happening in Kubernetes. This is something that we've seen happening in Docker, for instance, and also internally at Google, which is how to do code-based refactoring, specifically how you move things from one package to another. There's a very good article by Russ Cox. That is actually the title is Code-Based Refactoring with Help from Go, so you can search it and read the whole thing. It is very interesting, and it basically says when you want to refactor something, what you do is you create the new thing, then you repair all the code that was using the old thing, and then you finally remove the old thing. Except that is actually not really the case. Most of the time is you create the new thing, then you wait for everyone to migrate to the new thing, and then finally you're able to remove the old one, right? And this is something that you can do in Go already, right? So let's imagine that we have the package HTTP, and for some weird reason, we decide to move all the status OK and everything, to a different package called status. And if we want to move a constant, it is very easy to just say, well, that constant is the other constant, and that's it. Constants just have values, so comparing them will just work. So migrating from the previous API to the new one is actually trivial. So what if you want to do the same thing with functions? With functions is also pretty easy. You can define a new function that calls the previous one. And this will work, except for comparison. The pointers will not be the same. And with variables, something really similar happens, right? But you can still call the function, which is what we do most of the time, and that will work. That will not break. So we can do it with constants. We can do it with functions. And with variables, it's pretty much the same. Actually, in the article, it explains a little bit more in detail what are the problems, because variables, they do have addresses too. So comparing them can be a little bit hard. But what about types? Let's say that I want to just rename a type, because I'm crazy like that. And I want to rename the type HTTP client to HTTP applicant. Why applicant? Because I found it on thesaurus.org or .com. It was the first synonym, so I went with that one. So imagine that we wanted to do this. It's an awful idea. Please do not send a proposal saying, hey, Francesc said to do this. So if you go with the first one, you say type applicant is client. Now you have a type that you can convert from the previous one to the new one, right? But in the new one, you don't have any of the methods. You could add those. But even if you add them, the new code will be forced to write extra things to do the conversion. It is not exactly the same thing. They're similar types that could behave similarly. But this is not exactly the same, right? You could go the other way and make it even worse, in my opinion, which is do struct embedding. So you get all the methods, but now not even conversion will work. You cannot convert from applicant to client anymore. So this is a little bit of a problem, right? And this is something that we've seen in many places. So there's a new thing in Go 1.9, which is what we call a type alias, or an alias declaration. And an alias declaration is simply a new way of declaring a type. Rather than giving the structure, as we've done so far, type client is a struct or whatever, now what you say type, the type name equals the other type. And this type is actually an alias, which means it is exactly the same type. Which means that if you are using it one or the other, you don't need to do conversions, because they're actually the same type. Also, you cannot add new methods if that type that you're aliasing is from a different package, because in Go, you cannot do that. I cannot add a method to the type int. It's not up to me to do that. The same way, you cannot do it by saying type my int alias int. No, because it's exactly the same type. And something that I find interesting is the fact that if you print the type of applicant here, you will not see applicant. You will actually see HTTP client. So it is actually the same type for basically all concerns. There's a couple cool things that you can do with APIs, which is the fact that it doesn't require any conversion. Means that all of a sudden, you can declare more types just for documentation issues. Before, if you declare a name type, all of a sudden, if people try to use it with another name type, there's a conflict, and you are forced to write a conversion. And with this, that need disappears. But the main reason for this is actually code refactoring. The second proposal is Quaternions. And I don't know if any of you knows what Quaternions are, but this proposal was sent on March 31st by Matthew Dembski. And he proposed adding a new type to Go called Quaternions, which is something related to physics. And I really don't know what they are. But it's a crazy idea. And not only he sent this and everybody was like, ha, that's funny. No, he actually implemented it and sent a bunch of change lists with all the code to add this to Go. So if you really feel like Go should have Quaternions, you can go find those CLs, patch them into your compiler, and use them. Have fun. OK, so that is actually the only change to the language, type aliases. That is the only change we have in Go 1.9. What about the standard library? In the standard library, there's actually a bunch of them, and I will go through the ones that I personally consider to be the coolest. You might disagree. So if you think that something else should be here, then write a blog post about it. But also, let me know, because this is personally what I find more interesting and the thing that impacts the most amount of people. So I did a poll on Twitter. And I asked, OK, so how many new packages in the standard library we're going to have? Are we adding one? Are we adding two? We're not adding any? Or we're removing one? And 57% of 706 votes say that we're removing one. So now we're removing one. We need to decide which one. But no, we're not doing that, because that will break Go 1 backwards compatibility. So we will not do that. We're actually adding one package, only one. And that package is math bits. And this package, what it allows you to do is low-level operations with bits. You can count the length of the binary encoding of a number. You can count how many ones they are in that encoding. You can reverse bits. You can reverse bytes. You can rotate to the left, not to the right. And also, you can count how many leading zeros or trailing zeros you have given a size. That X is because you will have the same thing. You have len 16, len 32, len 64 for every single one of the unsigned integers in Go. So here, for instance, I wrote this little program. And it tells you that 100 has 3 ones in binary. It's incredibly useful. It is actually very useful if you're doing things with bits, though. There's a new type in the sync package, a sync.Map. It's a map designed to be used concurrently. The 0 value is valid, unlike maps in the Go programming language. In Go, if you just do var m is map without assigning any value, the map that you get is not usable. And with sync.Map, it is usable, and you cannot copy it. You should be passing pointers instead. The important thing is this is something very useful, but it doesn't provide all the features that you might imagine, meaning that you might still be able to write code that has data races even though you're using sync.Map. I just did today. If you're getting something from the map, adding one and putting it back there, and you're doing from 2 different Go routines, that's still a data race. But you have some operations that are incredibly useful for this. I wrote some code, and basically what it does, starts 3 different Go routines and starts adding to their ID, keeps on counting how many numbers we've gone through, and then every second I print how many we got so far. And if you run it with the race detector, you will see that this works. And when I'm iterating over the maps, over all the values on the map, you will see that the keys keep on changing. That is still random. Iterating over a map is random order. And other than that, give it a try. The important thing of running it with the database detector there is that if you wrote similar code with just maps, that would be a data race. That's the important step. There's one thing that might break some people's code, and I think it's important to know, which is if you have an HTML template. How many of you use HTML template? OK, not that many. So if you're using HTML template, there's a thing that allows you to escape strings. So you can do something, escape it with HTML to escape it in that way. And there's actually a security concern with this. This code here, what it's doing is executing a template that has a title, and that's it. That's a title. And it prints the string in the field bar, and it then escapes it. If you run this with Go 1.8.1, which is the playground, you will see something that you never want to see, which is HTML injection. So because of this reason, the HTML escaper, and actually all the default escapers, are now forbidden in the HTML templates. And when you do execute, if it finds one of those escapers, it will simply panic. So you might see this bug somewhere in the wild. It's important to know that this is actually for a very good reason. And then OSXEC. This is actually a very simple change. And I also did a Twitter poll, and everybody was wrong again, which it was interesting. But imagine that you have this program, basically env, but you give it the name of a variable, and it just prints the value, the value behind that environment variable. That is the program uses os.getM, so it gives you the first value in the environment that has that name. And then I'm calling that, adding foo equals new bar to that, right? So I'm just adding one more environment variable, foo equals new bar. So if I call this, what value do you expect to print, bar or new bar? It would make sense to print new bar, because what you're doing is I have all of this environment. I'm adding one new environment variable, right? So that is the new one, right? Like I'm adding here foo equals new bar. So of course it should be foo new bar. Well, if you run that from Go 1.8, that is exec min.go. Run. It prints new bar because there's nothing, but if I do foo bar, it prints bar. It doesn't print the new variable that we added. It prints the one that was in the environment of the parent process. And this is not what you want to do. So we fixed it. And in Go 1.9, if you do the same thing, you will actually see new bar. What we've done is when you call command.run, actually when you call command.start, we remove all the duplicates of them in the environment variables. And we keep the last ones. So depending on what you're doing with commands, that may be something that could impact you. So it's important to know. Whoops. So yeah, that was the thing that everybody got wrong. But in this case, I feel like that's a good sign, because that is the behavior now. So I guess that's a good thing. OK. I'm going to talk about the runtime real quick. The runtime is around as fast as it was before. It is faster for some things, slower for some other things. But this is a benchmark that I ran myself on my laptop. So do not trust this at all. Official benchmarks will be coming later. So yeah, and I was watching YouTube at the same time. So who knows? But it's around the same, I'd say. There's new things coming for the garbage collector. There's new algorithms specifically for very large heaps. And large heaps around, it's more than 50 gigabytes. And I'd like to see, I don't know if you've seen, I've given this talk a bunch of times, and every single time there's that tweet with the garbage collector pauses before and now, and then before and now. I'd like to do that again soon, but I did not have that tweet yet, so we'll see. There's also another effort on the runtime, which is on dwarf, which is, I have no idea what dwarf stands for, but it's a joke anyway, so nobody cares. But dwarf is information that debuggers use to be able to understand a binary. And we're working on having more accurate information, so debuggers like Delph can do a better job, and even GDB. Then we have a bunch of things in the tooling. The first one is, if you write Allman-style braces, you'll have a slightly better error message now. Before, we just said unexpected semicolon or new line before brace, and now it says missing function body for main. And syntax error unexpected semicolon or new line before brace. You will also notice there's one little thing, which is the errors now have column numbers. That is also pretty cool. Huh? Byte numbers, sorry. Not columns. Byte numbers. And why is this important? Because if you are using editors that signal where is the error, they will be able to point exactly where the problem is, rather than just highlight the whole line, and then you need to parse the line to understand what the code is. So if you're a maintainer of any of the plugins for Go, VS Code, I think she's Ramya, or Vim Go, Fatih, get started. I really want this. Then we have the Go compiler has been refactored. We've moved a bunch of code that was part of the Go compiler into packages that you will not see because they're under internal. And the Go compiler now that's parsing concurrently, which means that the wall time that you will see when you're compiling code will be slower. Will be lower. The time will be lower, so it will be faster. So this is good. This is a good thing. It will be faster in total time, but if you look at the CPU it actually spent, might be longer, because we're using all the CPUs, which, that's why Go exists, after all. Go test. There's one thing that lots of people were complaining about. Go test ignores vendor. Yay. I know. So Go test now ignores dot slash ignores vendor. So if you have vendor directories there, you will not retest them every single time you want to test your code. So that is good. And another thing that we added is the -test.list flag. So when you're running tests, you can actually see all the tests that would be run without running them. And this can be pretty useful for the tooling if you're building tooling around it. Finally, GoDoc will have support for fields. So you can point to a field inside of a struct. So if I click here, I will go to the transport field in the HTTP client. That's it. It's actually useful for me. So I don't see why no one is reacting to this. This is amazing. And there's way more than that. I will not go through all the changes. We will have release notes at some point when the release is ready. But also, I'll be writing a blog post covering all of these things and probably some more, because I will not have the time restrictions. So we're going to talk about the community. And the community, well, you just have to look around and on the live stream, keeps on growing. We have, sorry? Oh, 250 people. Hello, people outside. They will see it in 30 seconds, though. But so Go Meetups, we have a bunch of Go Meetups. I maintain this webpage, go-meetups.appspot.com. It's all automated, just grabs from the Meetup API. But keeps on growing. This is really good. I really, really like it. Out of all of these Go Meetups, there's a bunch of them, now 20. And I did not update this slide, so it says 19. But we have Women Who Go. And Women Who Go, sorry, it's right there, organizer of Women Who Go. It is a community for women that write Go code. And it is amazing. It keeps on growing. They're basically everywhere. And I think that soon there will be one in Africa, right? So Zimbabwe, which is amazing, because that's the only, there's nothing in Australia. Look at that. So homework. And one of the amazing things they organized is the Women Who Go Gophercon scholarship. And they're helping between 40 and 50 people coming from diversity communities to go to Gophercon with the hotel, the trip, and the tickets and everything. So that's amazing. So round of applause for Women Who Go. And talking about Gophercon, we have more conferences coming. We have Gophercon Singapore. I will not be there. But Gophercon Denver, I will be there. Golang UK, I will be there. And DocGo, I will be there. Yay. So yeah, that's going to be fun year. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Any questions? I just asked online, too, so I'm going to be really kind of silly and walk around with my computer just in case in 30 seconds there's a question from the live stream. Okay.
Oh, but it's USB. Do you have?
So where does the documentation on a type alias go?
The documentation is actually in a couple places. There's a blog post about it, but specifically in the language specification, if you go to tip.golang.org, you will find the specification there. And there's all the changes already there available.
Oh, I meant if I put in my code a type alias and I document there.
So it will be, if it's an exported alias, so if your alias starts with an uppercase letter, it will be part of your documentation.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. In the package that exporting.
It's really weird to watch myself on live stream. Any other questions back here? I'm not looking behind me yet. The pressure is on you, all of you. No. Any other questions online? Going once, going twice.
There's behind you.
Oh, you had so much time while I was back there. Oh, I'm going to get there. Wait, who was it?
It's a nit, I guess, but I'm just wondering why you can only rotate the bits one way and not the other.
I have literally no idea.
Okay.
Huh? Oh, good. Yeah, negative numbers, and they're unsigned. So, yeah, that actually makes sense. Look at that. Yeah. That was rollback, by the way, so yeah. I trust the source.
Sam online says pitch the developer experience working group. I don't know what that means, but I'm wondering if you do.
Yes, I should pitch it, indeed.
Well, then pitch it. Let's do it.
So there's a developer experience work group. We are some people from the Go team, from people from outside from outside Google too. We're working on making the whole experience of writing Go code easier. We are for now working on the beginner's experience, but we're actually going to be sending out a bunch of polls and doing UX studies to try to understand how we can make Go better from a developer experience point of view. I think that we will be doing something public at some point soon, but I will not say anything because I'm not completely sure.
All right, so this is regarding the dash JSON flag to the testing package. is there any word on that that's been open for a while? And I'm just wondering if it's gone through many stages in terms of proposals and.
Anyone from the Go team? Jana? Jana? No. Do you happen to know the JSON flag for Go test? No. Okay. I can look at it later. You can talk to me later. Also, quick question. This is completely selfish and plug. This is awful. But how many of you know Just for Funk? Okay. So Just for Funk is a YouTube video series that I do with me coding, and it's lots of fun. And I'm late. It was supposed to come out today, but I was busy doing this. So for those that were waiting, sorry. And that's it.
Is that it? Are you sure? No more plugs?
More applause? Yeah.
Anything else? Oh, applause. All right, let's applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.